Let's get into the biggest airdrop ever and what this might mean for the market. We'll also give you guys some alpha on 3 tokens that could be changing the landscape of a lot of what's happening in the crypto markets. You don't want to miss this one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. All right, a couple of things we're going to get started on before we do get started. Let's go into our sponsor for the day, and that is iTrust Capital. If you guys are looking at long-term holding in the crypto markets, one of the ways to do that is a crypto IRA. Join over 200,000 people over there at iTrust Capital, 7.7 billion in transactions right now. You can go into ETH, Bitcoin, precious metals, all sorts of alternative assets in your crypto IRA. All you have to use is our link down below. It's going to give a $100 funding reward to you if you decide to go that route. So make sure and check it out, and it does help the channel out. All right, so a couple of points I want to hit on here is what's happening with Solana climbing so quickly over this past 5 days. We've seen a very aggressive move in the Solana charts. I think a lot of this plays into an ecosystem. And when you think about the ecosystem, I'm going to go to this first. This is just kind of the asset store on Unity to show you why we're seeing some movement here. And if you look at the Magic Block, which is the Solana SDK for Unity, it's starting to grow. And you'll notice right there, Immutable's right next to it. Solana outperforming right there, 47 likes right there. This, I think, plays into a lot of games, but it's also going to play into a lot of these ecosystem elements that are these devs that are coming into the space, which we'll get into in a second. And when you think about what's happening right here with just the zkSync side of things, look at this. This is downtimes that just here recently happened. Downtimes appear to be growing more frequently with zkSync. Prominent, obviously, you guys know this is an Ethereum Layer 2 scaling solution. Again, this also follows the occurrences that happened in early April, and then back here around mid-December as well. So is zkSync actually having the time that Solana used to have in terms of downtime, and now Solana's kind of gotten past that? It's just interesting that all of this is happening, which I think also goes back to why we're seeing people starting to develop on Solana more and more. And of course, we got to get into the Solana phone. It's a clip of Anatoly talking about the success of the phone, but more importantly, I think it's the strategy that's playing out within the phone markets. Listen in.
Yeah, during the bear market, nobody cared. We're selling like 20 to 30 phones a day. Like right after breakpoint, we started sales kind of doubled or tripled. So we were like selling 50 to 75, which is great, but like it was still pretty slow. You think it's awesome and you get it out and there's some reviewers like, it's mediocre. It's crap. It sucks. So in one day we sold like 15,000 units, which is bizarro. Bizarre. Yeah, Solana phone is sold out. It was not a flop. People are kind of treating it as an NFT, like kind of like a club. And there's now devs shipping apps. Like the interest in terms of shipping apps is like 10x. The amount of airdrops that folks are getting or receiving is like kind of really picked up. To compete with Apple or Google in any meaningful way, you need to sell 1 million phones. Prior to this, percent chance of us getting to that level was like 0.1. Now it's like 5. Yeah, massive improvement.
I like that Anatoly's very humble about this, I think, in the sense of just the success we've seen. And I think there are many people, they've asked me, why all of a sudden is the Solana phone just the thing? And I think it boils down to a couple of strategies that has occurred. One, of course, was the airdrops that have started to accumulate. And now people understanding that this is potentially a vehicle in which devices could really make a difference, especially in the fact that you might own a device and it does become a collectible, and it also has kind of a gateway into all these potential airdrops. That really has been the milestone of what the Saga phone has really meant to the market. I think just people didn't see it done. And with Bonk's airdrop, that was a good example. We're going to see many others that play into this. Now, there's 3 other tokens that are going to play into what I think the future of Solana has in terms of an ecosystem. Obviously, Jupiter, if you guys are holding a Solana wallet like Phantom, you probably have already experienced the Jupiter exchange when you go in and see your swaps. You can kind of understand how that works. But I also want to jump into a game. And this is one of the projects out there that is flying high on Solana, and I think this is one to watch, Honeyland. Now, Honeyland, if you haven't downloaded this game right now, you can get it on iOS and Android. So go over and download the game. I think you'll get a quick understanding of how quickly this game could go. And I wanted to compare it to other apps and other, platforms that maybe have gone viral over the past year, 2 years. And if you compare this to Vivi, we'll take a look at Vivi. Here's just an app analysis right here from Sensor Tower. And if you look at the average rating right here, you'll see Vivi right here, not necessarily doing great, but, has a few problems. But the point is that this one somewhat is viral, I would say, Vivi. But if you look at Honeyland, very short time, and you look at their breakdown on average app rating, very new to the market, and you can kind of see this one is exploding. Now, what does this mean in terms of an opportunity? Then you go into some of the sentiment data on a lot of these games, because this will also give you some accuracy of understanding, well, if sentiment, people like games, people are starting to not only get involved in the game, but also kind of educate themselves on how this works, Web3, then you have to look at some of the others that are out there in the market. One, of course, I wanted to showcase right here was Shrapnel. Shrapnel, this is coming in from Play to Earn. And if you go look at their sentiment score, their 1 year, kind of flatline, of course, but then recently, right here around November, Shrapnel starts moving. And of course, we've seen that also in terms of price. Big Time was one of the other ones that also did that. And I think everybody could have looked at Big Time and said that was one of the major movers within the Play to Earn space, but definitely within the Web3 gaming sector. So it also has started to move consistently. Then you look at Honeyland. Here's Honeyland right here. Very new, but here's the 1 year on Honeyland. And right here we are, November 11th, pretty much its all-time low, pretty much, and now climbing. This is all happening because of some unique things that are starting to happen within the Solana ecosystem. All right, so on the rankings, you'll go over to Play to Earn. You can kind of see Pixels right here, which share the same ranking. And this one is pretty much an already viral game. I'm going to zoom in on that for you guys. It's already a viral game, but Honeyland coming in right underneath it at 41, also sharing a similar rating. So is this game getting ready to explode? If this game is getting ready to explode, then the token behind it, HXD, is going to explode with it. So that's my point of an opportunity here. It's one of the tokens we're watching in a big way. The other, of course, is JUP. JUP, and if you look at JUP and what's been happening, the airdrop is what we're talking about. It's coming up. I'll get to that in a second. But this is a good example of just what could be happening around the developers that are coming into the space. Remember, this is the Solana Unity SDK. These are the two DEXs that are potentially available to these developers. So think about this. Game devs flooding in. Totally just mentioned that. Game devs starting to look at a solution. Then we get into projects like Honeyland that is going to start to look at possibly an in-game swap, meaning HXD. And then you have JUP in the SDK. Put all that together, now you've got some potential here of what we will see with the Jupiter airdrop. And remember that Jupiter has a lot of similarities to what has happened on Uniswap. I'll get to that in a second to go a little bit deeper. But I want to go to a clip that gets into how easy this is to make a game right now with this new SDK and then get it out to an app store. Listen in.
And now we are submitting the app. And now we should hopefully have our app published. Let's see. Successfully submitted to the mobile DApp store. Okay. So now we are just waiting for a reply. I can't wait to see all your apps and games in the DApp store. I will definitely try them out.
All right, so the point being is that, I know that was a little bit of more of a dev side of it, but the point being for you guys to get a grasp of this is that this simply means that developers have a tool set now that can get their games developed quickly. And now you have this built-in DEX ecosystem that also plays into this. So all of this, very bullish for what this looks like. Now, the Honeyland CEO, we've done a couple of videos kind of talking about this recently, but I want you guys to pay really close attention to what he's talking about in this next clip, because this is a very interesting angle that could be happening with the Apple ecosystem. Listen in.
Now, I should be very clear here that because this is an in-app purchase, we actually have to pay Apple and Google their 30%. They get that on every purchase. There's nothing we can do about it. You're actually only getting about 65 to 70% of the HXD that you would be getting if you just went directly and purchased it through an exchange, or if you had kind of the Web3 know-how to go do that. We're working on this. We're working on more on-ramps that would not come through an in-app purchase, but would come other ways that will reduce those fees significantly for players who are much more Web 2 native. Go buy it on a decentralized exchange and then deposit it into the game. Or if you're more of a Web 2 native, you can simply go to the in-app purchases and purchase it there. So to make up for that kind of 30% loss, we have a mystery box that comes with every single purchase. We'll fill in some of that gap, that like 30% loss. The goal is we're trying to fill in somewhere between like 30 and 40% of that loss with items.
So this was, in my opinion, could be one of the milestones that we've been waiting for Web3 gaming is some sort of strategy that seems to work within these, closed marketplaces like the Apple Store and also like Google Play, and what this might play into in terms of NFT and the exchange that could be happening within these games from a token standpoint, NFTs, etc. All right, so I want to go to CoinMarketCap, and you can kind of see, here's Honeyland. This is the game. This is only listed right now on the Radium Marketplace and also with JUP. So you can get HXD within your Phantom app by using the Jupiter exchange. And because of that, if you go away from the markets and go look at the chart, this is just over the past 1 month, and we've seen a little bit of movement here. Again, all of this, I think, is pre-breakout. The game's getting ready to break out. The potential of in-game swaps is going to be real. The platforms that they've already pretty much put themselves on, both with Google and Apple, has started to move. And best of all, if you haven't downloaded the game, download it and check it out. The game is actually very good. So great graphics, very interesting gameplay, good strategy. The idea of your bees working in and going out and hauling in your HXD, which is basically your rewards, is all well done. So I think all of this could be looked at, and if you think about Big Time and other games that have done a pretty good job, this may be at the right time going into a market where Solana is absolutely climbing the charts. So a couple of tweets I want to hit on here. All right, so if you're an ETH game, you're going to need Neon EVM, being able to make the bridge over to Solana. You can get Neon right now. Again, Neon has been performing like crazy. I think it's at 5 to 7x over this last 3 weeks. So this is another one that we're watching very closely, but recently hitting 730 TPS on mainnet. Another tweet right here, expect big things from us in 2024, including a venture with Neon EVM, first project to harness D-Bridge from EVM to SVM, so basically ETH to Solana. So that's the advantage that Neon could bring. And the cool thing here is it could bring this to some ETH games that are already out there. Is there a potential collab opportunity between many of these projects? This is going to be one to watch as well. If you look at the stat page here on Neon Scan, you can kind of see pretty big explosion here. Very, very early though, okay? Only a handful of accounts that have really pushed into this. But the point that this thing is starting to get some traction, maybe this is super early. So just remember, all high risk, very high risk, but maybe this is super early, or maybe this is at the beginning of something very special here for the gaming ecosystem going forward. If you look at Neon right now, here is the 7-day coming in from around on 12/19. This is the market cap at around 7.5 million. Right now it's at around 130 million. So does this become a $1 billion market cap? Does this have the opportunity? I mean, anything that's going to bridge successfully ETH to Solana, I think is going to be a potential for a big gainer, for sure. A couple other tweets I want to hit on. Of course, this is Jupiter. Jupiter has already started their campaigns around Jupuary, which starts in 9 days. So this was on the 23rd. So just go forward here, almost the first here. We'll be hitting that. And what is this airdrop going to look like? This is going to be the interesting thing to compare. Is 50% distributed to the community, 40% in 4 rounds of airdrops. So there'll be some staging there so we don't see, massive dumps. And then 10% to contributors and grants. Now with that, if you take a look at this next page right here, just to look at Jupiter overall, the growth has started to occur October, November. So the movement already started to come in. And then if you look at how this thing has flipped, this is crazy. Solana's main DEX outshines Uniswap. Now that to me showcases something pretty significant, because we've already seen the success of Uniswap, very successful project, but also just a great utility tool. And within that, I think the key thing here was a tweet to kind of just show you the volumes, 24-hour volumes on Uniswap, 909 million, Jupiter 992. Remember, JUP's airdrop getting ready to go. JUP token not available right now. Very interesting times right now on this one. Going to be something to watch. All right, so here's a comparison if you think about ETH versus SOL and the vehicles in which you can do swaps on it. Now, if you look at Uniswap, which occurred, the Uni airdrop started back here in September of 2020. And what happened to ETH? ETH absolutely goes off the chart. And again, this just means accessibility of being able to get to these tokens. So SOL is in the same camp, but potentially with Jupiter. And it goes back to the narrative here of all these gamers coming in, all these devs coming in, all these projects. If you go back to Honeyland, take a look at what's happening with Neon, being able to take the bridge in, all of that starts to point at one direction for Solana, and that is up. So Solana could be on the verge of a huge, and we've already seen a little bit of that. I mean, it went up to almost 115 over the weekend, and it moved very quickly. So here's another one, is Uniswap on the verge of a breakout? And you go back and you think about what has been happening with Uniswap. This all could happen within the Solana ecosystem, but it's very early. So very, very interesting. Daily trading volume surpassed that of both the New York Stock Exchange and Nasdaq combined. That's insane to me. That just shows you the appetite for what's going on in this Web3 community. And I think these are the things you have to pay close attention to in terms of the market. Just to show you the biggest airdrops ever, guess who was number one? Uniswap. So now we're looking at Jupiter. Jupiter, another Uniswap type, living in the Solana ecosystem, getting ready to possibly do a very similar impact in terms of an airdrop, and it's already exposing what is a growing ecosystem of devs. So another one to watch for sure. Here's another thing to kind of look. Here's Jupiter. This is the only place we could find it on where you could get it. This was in a perpetual exchange comparison, but it also is climbing. Again, this is a very, very early stage. Hopefully this gives you guys a little bit of alpha. You can go do your own research, kind of look at what we're looking at, and do you come to the same conclusion on what you think? All right, so speaking of skyrocketing, let's get this channel skyrocketing. We're at 396, 544. This is a live count as we go right now. We can hit 400K. This will be a huge milestone for our channel, and it has happened only because of you people out there watching right now. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe right now. If you know people who are not subscribed to the channel, forward the channel out there, tweet it, give it to some of your friends and family, and let them know, hey, this is a place to catch a lot of this alpha, and it's also going to help us get back over that 400K. Hopefully we'll hit it before the end of the year to be a great New Year's present, both to us and to the PBN family. Make sure and subscribe. I'll wrap up with this, and that is this statement here from what I think is kind of interesting. I'm going to go to the headline here. Nansen shares high conviction bets for crypto in 2024. And DEX is what I really want to focus on right here in this portion of the article. DEX statement has a lucrative business model, and I think this is where we get into these perpetuals, but also it exposes people to a wide range of assets, and especially these niche assets that have problems with liquidity. This is where it opens up these opportunities for these game devs to build on. This is why we're so bullish on Web3 as a whole. This is an alternative, I think, ecosystem that absolutely changes the way finance is done, but also how companies and new projects are launched in the future. I'll go to the last tweet right here. This is from Jupiter Exchange. Please share this to all anxious catlets. By the way, just as a reminder, there will be a website for you to sign in with your address before the JUP launch, so you can get your airdrops that will not be released until we find a way to additional ID checks. So you're probably seeing some things out there right now with JUP airdrop. Check to see. Be very careful with that right now, because there's a lot of scams out there that are trying to take advantage of these kinds of milestones that are happening within these ecosystems. So just be cautious. And if you have a Phantom wallet, be ready, because that's the exchange that essentially Phantom has access to right now. So there's going to be a lot happening within that wallet as well. All right, if you guys are not subscribed, like I said, get in now. If you're not part of our Diamond Circle, click that link down below. It's going to get you into additional alpha. We do a couple of podcasts over there that we don't put here on YouTube. And we also do a lot of additional sharing of information and research that doesn't necessarily make it into the show. So check it out and be part of the Diamond Circle. It's a great New Year's resolution as you kind of go into the big year. And of course, if you're not following me on X, get me out there. It's @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.